Hey, insiders, welcome back for yet another live stream in our Insiders Masterclass series. So excited to be back live, yapping with y'all via the Uni, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Welcome, welcome. So excited for everyone to get in here. It's going to be a great time. If you have been keeping up with the Magic Brewing on the Uni side and have caught us live the past couple of weeks, we have been amplifying a lot of gems, a lot of insights on a bunch of different topics, all of which have been super highly requested by the insiders community. And I was like, you know what? Why not take these topics, create a live stream series, and just go back to back to back, amplifying the real knowledge that you need to know to elevate, to create transformation, and to cultivate sustainable success. All right. So today's topic is a goodie. It's one that I honestly have been waiting on. Okay. I love event marketing. Experiential marketing is another term that is used for it. I come from a background, obviously, so many know within marketing. I've spent many years on what it would be the event marketing side. So, really helping brands bring together unique experiences that really enable them to cultivate connection, conversation, and facilitate community piece with their audiences, fans, supporters, etc. So today's topic is all about going beyond social. I'm calling it the IRL activations that convert. There's a lot of gems I'm trying to fit within 1 hour. So I'm honestly going to get right into it. I have some case study examples to share. Going to share my screen a little bit during this live stream session as well. Okay, shout out StreamYard. Shout out StreamYard for the tools, the technology. We love it. If you are joining us live via LinkedIn, YouTube, use the comment sections on the platform that you're streaming from. You can add your comments, thoughts, feedback there. I can actually bring them in the StreamYard, put them up on the screen. Something that I very much try to do is to make these sessions as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, thoughts, feedback, use the comment sections there. Instagram, what's up, IG Insiders? Okay, okay, use the comment sections as well. I'm unable to pull them in the StreamYard, but I am checking IG as I am going throughout my yapping and the conversation today. So I will be checking there as well for your questions, feedback, thoughts. Please use those. Um, yes, so kind of getting into it. I always try to start every live stream off with kind of just some thought starters to guide the conversation. And today, since we're talking about all things events, I feel that this was the perfect segue, especially, and I alluded to this on IG stories quite recently. I have a lot of conversations with marketers, with other creators, entrepreneurs. I worked with some of the biggest brands in the world on the brand side when I was on the agency side. So I was always having conversations, kind of what we call like forecasting what's going to be next, what's going to be most top of mind for marketers, for creators, etc. within the spaces that I'm in. So some of the conversations that I know so many of us have been happening on the marketing side has been all around experiential event activations. There can be a real problem, right? So for artists, creators, it could be your streams are up, you've built an audience online, your followers are engaged. All of those signals are there. But when's the last time someone bought a ticket to your show? Merchandise that you have for sale are one of your offers within a quick time frame that you posted. When you're able to what we call like convert, nurture your audiences and use social as discovery to find and resonate with your audiences, right? To nurture those audiences. The conversion piece isn't just about, oh, did they buy a ticket? Did they purchase a t-shirt or a hat from me? Or did they purchase something from my service? It's really about beyond that. And we talked about community already. But when we're thinking about events and activations that convert, it is all about the community that you're building, the community that you're cultivating. So, experiential marketing is not anything new, y'all. It has been around for such a long time in all forms and fashions, but statistically, we are seeing a surge in 2025 of brands allocating a larger percentage of their spend towards experiential activations across the board. So, right now, statistically, and I pulled this one if you want me to share the article because it's so good, compiling a lot of stats around experiential marketing. It's expected to reach over $100 billion industry in just 2025 alone. So as I mentioned, right, brands, creators, we are seeing the shift from, of course, utilizing social digital forms of communication to find your audiences, to reach your audiences, to nurture those audiences in your community, right? But as I said, 2026, 27, 28, and beyond, we're going to see more and more people really connecting outside. And I have listed so many examples, and I got something for y'all that's going to have a lot more ideas. But we have seen, right, the deplug that is happening via social. A lot of folks, we want to spend less time on our phones, less time glued to a screen. So you're starting to see, because at the end of the day, we are humans. This is all about human psychology. We want to be in community, we want to connect. Social is great for that, right? In some spaces. But when it comes to really bringing people together and creating an experience, there is nothing that is going to replace community events and putting people together in one space that have aligned values, morals, beliefs, interests, passions, hobbies. We're seeing the resurgence of communities, right? Niche communities, hobby and interest based communities, whether you are a fan of sports teams, gaming, run clubs, book clubs. We are seeing that people do want to connect. And it's so great when we can do a lot of this virtually, of course, but there is nothing that's going to replace that human to human touch point and connection. And that's where experiential and events come into play. So that's just kind of like setting the stage for today's conversation. Another stat is 74% of Fortune 1000 marketers plan to increase their experiential budgets in 2025. 74% is a huge stat. Coming from working with some of the Fortune 100 companies for many years, to have a shift to be able to get spend allocated towards any part of the marketing funnel, whether it's experiential, what's going to influencer, what's going to XYZ, right? It, it's not just a quick decision. So the fact that 74% of Fortune 1000 marketers already, this is 2025 is about over, we have seen this shift. Something that I love most about experiential marketing, and oh, I'm so excited to get into the meat and potatoes of today's conversation, is it's all about creating emotional connections and engaging your consumers on a personal level. Last week we talked about branding, going beyond the logo, going back to brand foundation, brand strategy, brand identity. Part of that brand identity, as I was talking about, go on YouTube to watch that full one if you missed it, because it's filled with gems. Part of what we do, wearing my creative strategist hat, when we focus on the brand strategy, the artist strategy, the creator strategy, part of what we're looking at is the audience. Because how can you ever create an event and experience that is supposed to connect with that community, that audience, if you don't know who they are? This is why you cannot skip the foundation. It is so crucial that we remember that this is about creating personal connections, deepening those connections. And it has proven to drive tangible results. And this is going to look differently for every brand, for every creator, but whether it's increased sales, higher brand loyalty, improve customer retention rates. These are all direct correlations by caring about your community, not just online, but offline too. So for marketers, we already know events aren't going anywhere. We're going to see more and more of everyone doubling down on how can I meet and reach my community where they're at, where I'm at, for an artist, right? Maybe it's going on tour, doing something special for those who you already know are going to be coming to your show. So I love social. I love social. I talk about social media and marketing all day. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do. But remember, there is a lot of noise on social, a lot of noise. When we're scrolling, when our attention is an attention economy, when our attention's being pulled from now we got football back on and what's coming out on Netflix and XYZ, when you're scrolling on your phone, content is so easy to ignore. It's easy to forget it. It's easy to scroll past it. It's not to devalue the creative itself, but this is just the reality. But experiences, those demand attention, right? When you're able to move somebody to get out of their house, to find a babysitter, to spend money on the tickets, right? To buy the parking, to go out to eat, to get their hair done, all this stuff that it really takes, right? When you are cultivating experiences that demand attention to that regard, your fans, your supporters, your customers, they linger, they're shared, and they stick. And I feel honestly, that's why I'm so freaking passionate and enthusiastic about event marketing experiential. It is an offering that we've been beta testing on the UNE side. And 2026, we're excited to bring on more clients for experiential marketing in itself. And yeah, because there's so much room for creativity and there are no limits to what you can create for your audience, no matter what size of a creator you are, no matter what size of your business or your company, etc. And I will give examples for some different ideas, maybe some different budget price points where you can still curate and cultivate an experience that's going to be remembered, that's personalized and catered and tailored to your audience and the community in mind. So, oh man, I haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes yet. But kind of one of the core parts that I really wanted to yap about today, I was like, there's so many, but where should I even start? It's really the case for IRL in music and creator culture. So I did want to spend a few minutes here because I think it's so valuable. When we think about artists, because so many in our community are artists, love it, creators, and that's just like the overall bucket, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a DJ, whether you're a traditional artist, pen to paper, watercolor, creators of all sizes are putting on events all the time, right? DJs are hosting their own thing, or an artist might have an exhibition at a gallery. These are all things that, of course, we have seen this forever, forever. It's not going anywhere. But when we think about music and creator culture, something that I really wanted to kind of focus on is the shift here of Oh my goodness, when you post on social, right? It's, oh, I hope that they see my post. I hope that they see it. You're always taking that chance at bat. But when you think about an event, when you're cultivating and curating an experience, it then goes from the mentality is, how can I create moments that they cannot miss? So it's a different shift. It is a different shift in mentality. But we already know that with experiential campaigns in itself, and there's so many facets of how do you bring this experience to life through the senses is a framework that we do on the uni side. And it's also about opportunities for storytelling. Brands, you can communicate your values, your missions in a way that's engaging and relatable. Artists, this might be about storytelling and communicating about the world that you're building through the project that you're releasing next. When you're able to connect people in person too, you're gonna see your like fans, your diehard quote unquote super fans, supporters, returning customers who just can't get enough. They are willing to pay more premium prices for experiences. It's the same reason why we see, right, when your favorite artist goes on tour, yeah, ready on that page, the Ticketmaster page to get those tickets. And they might be a couple hundred. And then you got VIP, and then you got meet and greet, and we're going to talk about tiers, right? Because it is an experience that your fans are willing to pay for, but it also requires you to, obviously, we talked through the other few webinars in this series, to nurture those relationships, build, like, facilitate that community. Because at the end of the day, to be able to drive those super fans and those supporters to your event and to that experience, and to be able to command more of that premium pricing, it is something. And it's something that you can't take for granted. It's not something that traditionally happens overnight, but over time. And here's the ROI reality for creators. So, artists, right? One tour stop can generate merchandise sales for you. You can capture new emails from new fans who, maybe you're one of the openers. So, a lot of people bought tickets to see the headliner. But there are still so many ways that you, right? You're building and you're creating new fans and they're discovering you, capturing emails, creating creative that can span and that you can share for a month. That is, for example, of touring. For creators, this can be creating intimate experiences that can also justify, one, not only premium pricing, but also brand partnership, collaboration, sponsorship opportunities. Because we have some clients that are on the brand, label, artist management side. This can even look like an event that help create cultural moments that social honestly could never buy. So the reality is, events are smart. Strategically, you have to make sure you're in a place where that makes sense for where you're at in your journey. But I also feel you can do so much with very little. And if you use creativity and resourcefulness, no matter what size you may be at or where you feel you may be at along your journey, because understanding, coming from experiential events of all sizes, do require an investment to be made. The bigger you want to go, the more things you want to do is going to command a bigger investment. But there are ways where you can still be really thoughtful, really resourceful, and make some shit happen. So I think the hybrid advantage of all of this is that, and I have a couple examples, so I'll go into those in a little bit, but you can do, start small, right? Start where you're at. For example, we worked with one of our clients, Geogenesis, on an EP listening experience for one of his recent, like, latest EPs that he put out. This was 2024. We already knew, being resourceful, being scrappy, being creative, what could we do to still create an intimate experience that would drive those core fans, supporters in his city, and still do it in a way that was cognizant of like where he is in his journey, the budgets, the resources at hand. So we were able to obviously use in relationships and network, lock in being able to utilize Audio Max Studios in New York City to host it and able to get a space. Obviously, because we have been working on all the social, the content, amplifying things, doing shows post release, he already had people that we could easily invite out to that experience. So we're able to fill the room, capture content, did a whole listening party, had kind of like interviews, captured all the content, etc. And that's just one example of something that is very, very micro budget. And then, right, doing the social media component of, hey, go live on IG, go live on TikTok, knowing that, hey, as an artist, you might have in your city people who can get to a show, people who can get to an experience, but there's a global music community, and we already know that you have fans that don't just live in this city. So, how can we still create memorable, personalized experiences that can still enable you to connect with more of your audience that may not be able to make it in person? We also had, event coverage, so capturing content that he could share later. We did a full recap video, etc. So that's just one example of how events, social, the hybrid advantage does work, and we see it all the time. Um, the content multiplier is another way that I think about this. Let's use a recent example of a big event that just happened that everyone has been talking about, which is ComplexCon. So with ComplexCon, same thing, right? They have creators that are creating on site. They have their media team. They have official photographers, they're capturing interviews, they're capturing content. Then you got a team that's just capturing the culture con fits, another team that's just BTS. Like these much larger events, they're thinking about not just the experience that we're creating on the ground during this 2-3 day weekend, a week. I think CultureCon has like a week of events now, but they're also thinking, what is the content amplifier here? Because their goal is to create a memorable experience, right? For those on the ground, attendees, panelists, all the crew. But they want you to feel like you're in the room, the FOMO, that I gotta be there next year. Let me get ready to buy CultureCon 2026, which I actually think they're already starting to tease, right? But now they have so much UGC going. They're going to be recapping CultureCon for months into next year. What you can get from the content amplifier piece, I feel, is another reason why events are so amazing. Before the event, being able to use that as anticipation, I'm sure, like, right, every big event they throw back to the last year. Leading up, they'll have some recaps during. So you have those social accounts, they're live streaming, they're posting content every 30 minutes because they want you to feel that FOMO. And then after that content multiplier amplifier, as I was saying, it's about access and nostalgia. So those are just some things that I think about, and why, as a strategist, I really do focus on with our clients, how can we do what we're doing on social, digital? We have that strategy, but in what ways can we start to amplify IRL if maybe they're not doing it frequently, it's not a priority at this time, but maybe they want to? There are so many advantages. So, event types that convert for your world. I had to break this up because I know that our insiders community spans a little bit from the artists, creators. We also have clients that are on the brand, label, artist management company side, organizations, etc. So I wanted to give a few ideas that can work for each of these. Now, today I will not be able to go as deep into all of these ideas because for sake of time, y'all know I can yap for 2 hours. What is up also too, everyone joining us live on Instagram. I see y'all. It is so great to have everyone here. Quick little housekeeping reminder. If you have any questions, please use the comment boxes sections on the platform you're viewing from. If you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, I can pull them in, put them up on the screen. IG, I am keeping an eye on the comments there, so use the comments, not Q&A if it pops up. But moving on, okay, because I got a lot of ideas for y'all. And this is all around event types that convert for your world. So for artists, we talked about the example of one of our clients where we facilitated and we curated a pre-release or like release listening party experience. This can look like things like pop-up performances, surprise shows, meet and greets that don't suck. Okay, structured fan experiences. It and I could go into meet and greets, that's a whole topic in itself, but you really do have to think about, once again, you have to know your audience, you have to know your community, because you have to be able to craft those experiences in a way that you know are going to resonate with with them, but also that are best for yourself as an artist, if I'm speaking to artists specifically. So your meet and greet doesn't have to be they get a you take a picture with everyone. If you know that's something that you're not comfortable with, then you can create a different unique meet and greet experience, our fan interaction component. um some other ideas could be tour add-ons. We talked about touring. There are entire companies dedicated to experiential fan experiences and building out that component for tours for artists. The VIP sound checks, the after parties, the creative workshops, the fan events, the dinners. In itself, I feel for artists specifically, touring is really where it is the time to be connecting with your fans, especially if it's your own tour. All right, I don't even care if you're opening for a tour. If you know you're going to 5 different cities, obviously these tours are planned ahead of time. You're on that tour as an opener for a reason. Why wouldn't you do something, even if a little bit smaller, a little bit micro in each city? And that experience could honestly look like something like it could be, I've seen people do this where they meet up with their fans for coffee, like the day of like depending on when you're getting into the city, right? It's logistics, but like for something like a coffee before the show, or like a coffee and sound check. See, look at me giving y'all ideas. But you could do something like that where it's like, okay, you already know that your fans are buying tickets for these shows, which is why, depending on where you're structuring it, like bands in town, etc., or however you're doing ticket hosting, getting that data is important so you can see, okay, like who bought tickets for what. That's when you can easily, when you know that information, target them specifically. Or this is why community building. I talked about street teams. I don't know what happened to street teams. I don't know why no one, not no one. There are people doing street teams, but why more artists are not doing street teams, are even thinking about a street team, starting a street team, especially if you're an artist in a city hub where you're doing show after show in the New York City tri-state area. If you are not capturing that data in a way that you can, and pulling those people into a list, and getting them together, doing something special for them, having different incentives, there are so many ways that you can get started on identifying who these super fans are, even in just a geological location. And that's where the strategy comes into play. And I feel so many artists aren't thinking about. I'm like, you can do this right where you're at. So for creators, this can look like things like intimate workshops, skill shares. This would be an example of a workshop. I'm doing it in a live streaming capacity, right? But you can do this in a Zoom setting. This could be, like I said, in person. You can translate this from, hey, I've done some virtual events. Now let me put on something in person for my local community. For artists, this could be gallery exhibits, also too for creators, artists, portfolio showcases. I've seen those done so flippin' well. Creator hosted parties, networking events is something that we're seeing all over these days. So many that I want to go to. Um, but networking events are so huge. I'm seeing like the community dinners, different organizations are having their IRL components to what they also do online. So all of these are just some ideas to kind of get the thought starters going. Another one for creators, and I have an example I'm going to share, are brand partnership activations and kind of collabs. So for labels, brands, and management, some of these ideas could look like a community brunch and dinners. I'm a fan of stuff like that. I think those are so cool, and there are so many ways that you can personalize them. And if we're thinking about investment tiers for events, community brunches, a dinner is a great way to get your feet back and curate something that's small, intimate. Usually dinners are like what, 15, 20 people max. So it's a great way to kind of get started. And I also love roster showcases. Industry nights are a great way to showcase the talent that you represent. And or depending on the industry night, that can also look like a mix of performances plus some like mix and mingle, etc. Multi-artist festival experiences. Obviously, we see these on the much larger level of like the Coachellas, the Lollapaloozas of the world. But I feel too there's so much high opportunity for indie labels, management companies to to curate their own experiences in a way that makes sense. Obviously, we got like Dreamville Fest too. I know that had its run, but brand sponsored tour activations, this is where those partnerships can go hand in hand. And then obviously music and lifestyle hybrid events. So those are just like what I listed off like 15 ideas. Some of these could probably be like, oh, well, honestly, a label could do a pop up of something, right? Or a management company could do some of these that I put in the artist category. Some of these can be like moved, but those are just some ideas, thought starters to think about. So I am checking for questions as I go. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. Um, I am trying to pay attention because I be yapping. I be in my zone. I be in my zone. But yeah, the second part of this, I feel like section one covered so much. But the second part of this that I really wanted to yap about today is the conversion framework. So because I have planned events of all tiers and sizes, some events have planned in just a few short weeks. Some take months, some take almost a year. So, knowing kind of that piece, when you're doing events, you honestly know for anyone who is on the event and experiential side, that there are different phases. Kind of when I'm speaking to my artists, our artists that we work with about the rollout, the phases of the campaign for events, event marketing, experiential strategy, when we are developing all of the ideas for thinking about how are we structuring this, there are still three different phases that are going to make events profitable. So obviously you got your pre-event. That is for building FOMO, and you're going to see that tiered access. This is where you'll see early bird ticket prices, um, first few spots booked at this VIP price also get this additional bonus, different tier access points, a couple different tiers, a VIP tier. This is why you'll see different tiers, um, tier access for events. And then you're going to have the live event. That's the day of, everything that's happening, all your months, year of hard work has come to life. And then you're like, oh my gosh, we're here. We finally made it. But this is all about creating shareable moments and capturing the coins in the room, especially depending on how your event is structured. But the shareable moments piece we already talked about is so huge. And then we have post event. And post event is all about turning those attendees that were at your event, at your experience, into like advocates. Okay, they were a fan of you. Now they're like, okay, when's the next one? Or so you gonna do this again next year? And whoever couldn't make it, the people who saw all the footage online and the fits and the panels and the gems and the energy, it's going to transform them into the people that want to make sure that they're in that room attending next time. You can't have one phase without the other. And it all obviously happens within a timeline. And the bigger the event, usually the longer the timeline that you're going to need to facilitate all of the many pieces, because there's many pieces. So when we talk about like pre-event strategy, I always start with the strategy first. Same thing I talked about last week. As a strategist, we know it all starts with a strategy, and the strategy is the foundation. So I just wanted to like leave y'all with a few questions that I would recommend to think about. And these are the same questions, like pulling from my questionnaire that I use on the UNE side with clients. So the first one is, what experience can only our brand create? Now, with this, we've seen a lot. There's so many ideas, everything's been done, etc. But what this question gets you to think about is we want to look for, how can we make this different? How can we at least add some elements here that help us stand apart and that is not generic? Like, oh yeah, I saw this idea. Oh, everyone's doing that. We should do that. The goal is to make these events memorable, personalized, immersive experiences that create connection, conversation, and community. With that, how can we be unique in what we're bringing to life? Even if it might have been done, I believe everything and we have seen can be reimagined. The second one is, how does this tie back to our mission, values, belief, and our core strategy? You don't just put on an event with no strategy. Like, it doesn't, like, you can, but you should know directly, especially because IRL, right, experiential events, it requires some budget. So because we know it requires budget, we're going to go back to, how does doing this directly tie back to the mission, the values, the strategy, our business goals? Because experiences, honestly, I just truly believe they should reinforce your positioning, not distract it, not be pulled together based on, oh well, this is trending or this is working for them. Yeah, it's working for them, but it might not and probably wouldn't be suited best for you, your brand, your value, like all these components that do matter. And I want to stop on this one because there is a good example, and I can't forget the name of the brand, but it was so recent and was in the news. Mm. But there's an example of a brand that is an outdoor brand, an outdoor company, like apparel, like a Patagonia. It's not them. It's not them. But because a lot of their values and beliefs all around environmentalism, sustainability, um, eco-friendly activism, preserving, environment, preserving culture. This happened so recently. I think it was in the past couple weeks, and the brand had to do this like massive PR campaign that's been going on, and they're being called out because what they did was not in alignment with the values, the the beliefs that the company said that they represented. And they had a whole fireworks show in a mountain community in, like, I think it was in China, could be mistaken. And the fireworks show literally caused some disruption to the natural ecosystem. The brand, right? The HQ, something wasn't in alignment with communication, and this happened, and it caused obviously some harmful effects. One, to the environment, but two, when you think about the brand and what they have been known for up until this point, it directly conflicts with that. So now, did this experience reinforce their position or did it distract from it? It distracted from it in a big way. If all those teams, because there's a lot of teams making decisions, right? If those teams have been in communication with this head, that team, it probably wouldn't have happened. But that's why it's so important that everything you do matters. Every single move that you make builds your brand. And as I talked about last week, brand is built, brand, reputation, perception, that's all built over time. But it just takes a few different things for that perception to be skewed. And now you have influencers calling you out and people want to boycott you, XYZ, right? The third question that I think about and that I do ask when we're building strategy for events for our clients is, will this moment and the experience, how can it and will it live beyond just this event? This is something to think about because we already talked about the content amplifier of what these events can do. But the best experiences, they invite amplification, storytelling, and sustained relevance. So, as I said with the Culture Con example, we're going to see them amplify panel clips, more of their series that they captured, BTS moments for months leading into the next one next year. Another thing that we alluded to in how to cultivate events that convert for your world that you're building, and something that works very, very well for experiential, is tiered access. So you'll see with different meet and greet packages for that you might be able to choose from for your favorite artists on their next tour. For something like a conference, a much larger a festival experience. We see, right? When you go to buy your festival tickets, you can do general admission and then you got some other tiers. And each one includes something else. Tiered access works. One, because you're capturing consumers, fans, supporters at different price points. And the people who want the ultra exclusive access, they are going to invest for that access and for that cultivation. So, general admission, right? Having these tiers make sense. You should, I always recommend to have tiers for events of any size. Maybe if it's like a listening party experience, it might just be one tier. Cool. I say that's like general admission, that's an awareness play. But a second layer of it could be the listening party experience, general admission, plus the VIP experience includes XYZ. Assign this, maybe a little meet and greet package. I don't know. And then you have the ultra exclusive access. That's going to be like the super fans. Like there are people shelling out, I don't know, the Coachella paying for the cabanas and they're paying multiple five figures for those. I shall not be paying that. I'm not a super fan that would invest into Coachella, but we already know there are so many people that are. I would probably be the one in the middle tier a little bit, a little VIP. We need some cooling stations. We need some a little bit of extra access. But that's just an example. Another thing that we're gonna see, right, when we're thinking about strategy is who's gonna be in the space, who's gonna fill the room. Obviously, that will be attendees if you're selling tickets for the event at those different access points. But also, this is really where we see brands, creators, artists too, right? Partnering with other artists, local creators, brands. So this is what we call partner and influencer seeding. How can you get other folks of influence into the space? Something that I do want to note here, because I have seen this in conversation a few different times, is when it comes to experiential events, I think this is really for the brand trips. We see those, right? Where the brand will invite X amount of creators and give them this freaking luxury experience and put them on the jet and take them to the island. We see it all. there's become a very big disconnect in who's in the room and who's invited to those spaces. So something that I just want to note as a strategist, I think something important is to tie in your customers, your actual customers, right? I'm not saying influencers don't use your products, but tie in your everyday customer and the communities. Don't just focus on filling the event, the space, the trip with influencers. There was a beauty brand, it might be Refi, but it might have been a different brand, where they did that very well. They did a brand trip where most of these bigger brands, the Fenties, the Glossiers, the Tarte, I've seen Tarte do these more immersive experiences, luxury experiences, is that this brand did the opposite and it caused a big disruption in the beauty industry because they invited actual customers on this trip, and they use this trip to get customers, like customer stories. It was a diverse campaign. They even spent time during that trip to use their customers as the face of their next campaign, so they captured content. It was a whole thing, and this is what I go to say: don't alienate your customers and make it so far out of reach that you actually don't have any of them in the space. That is just something to think about in the midst of 2026 planning. But like I said, this is all about building anticipation through creative, not just promotion. So the last part that I wanted to talk about in this section is just around how do you design your event. I can't spend too much time here because it could be 2 hours of talking about this. But remember, the overarching thing is around architecting moments that are designed to convert. Okay, that's the whole webinar today. For artists, once again, this could look like exclusive merch drops where you have an LTO, a limited run that's only going to be available at that experience, on that tour stop, etc. This could be the first listen experiences that I already alluded to and talked about and gave some examples. Acoustic moments, and I got an example I want to share for that. For creators, this can look like live collaborations, portfolio reveals, teaching moments. There's so many different types of creators. And then for brands, labels, this could be talent discovery, sign-in opportunities, partnership intros. So two labels coming together. It could be a label that has a couple of different brand sponsors for that event. But the overarching theme for the label might also be about, or for the brand, about deeper community building. So the value stack approach, as I always talk about, is what's going to be the experience, right? I'm always thinking about what is the value approach here? Give more than they paid for. And that's going to look different for every single event. And I think that's really how you can get creative and be resourceful. I have so many ideas. I'm going to share some more of those in like a freebie. So stay tuned for that. But it's all about, you want to leave the, like, your attendees, they want to leave feeling like they got more than what they paid for. And that could be from how the event made them feel. It could be from the conversations and the connections that they made with others in the room. It could have been about the how immersive your experience was. It could be so inspiration that they got from being in that same space, etc. And there's also, right, when you're thinking about designing your own event, revenue opportunities in the same space. We talked about, hey, if you're doing a listening experience and you're an artist, you should have merch in that room. There should be no reason, if you're throwing your own event, that you do not have merchandise available for purchase for sale. No excuse for it. But it could also be something like an upgrade, something like a customization. It could be future event sales. All of these things could happen from them being in that space. So documentation strategy is another part of how do you design this event to convert and connect. We mentioned how brands, how creators how these events, whether it's in a festival or a conference, an educational experience, how they document and how they capture the creative to be able to utilize. And the documentation strategy is so important. It's one of the check boxes when we're designing events for clients of yes, we're going to make sure that this event is documented to its full capacity. So, what to capture can look different, but at bare bones, it's like having a photographer who is strictly capturing behind the scenes for you, if that is where the budget allows. An upgrade might be, hey, we're gonna have two two person crew right there. It could be the behind the scenes videographer capturing just the BTS, and then you could have someone else whose sole responsibility is to capture the panels, or there's chats or workshops, and that could be like professional. And then you might have the creators, the influencers, the local community members that you invited, where they're also taking their own UGC and they're creating content, and then people are tagging and sharing, right? So you're capturing different sorts of creative, but the whole goal is like you want this footage to be able to clip up for your recaps, different series. We have where we're seeing across the board from these festivals to conferences, they are pre-mapping the documentation strategy. This isn't day of, oh my god, what should we captured? Like these teams are assigned, everyone has their role. Hey, your role is just BTS photos before the artists go on stage. Your role is to capture fan POV. Your role is to go interview for an outfit series. Everyone has their role, and that's called event coverage. And that is a whole thing in itself. And cannot wait to be doing more of that here on the agency side for clients, because that is a whole thing. Event coverage could also look like live streaming the entire event experience. So there's a virtual component. We see this often with festivals, with conferences. It could be where if you're an influencer capturing that UGC, the influencer has their own videographer walking around capturing them all day. So you're capturing all these different moments, POVs, bring into life all the different elements. But I just want to reiterate, it's a strategy. It is pre-planned, kind of like a videographer creating you got your video treatment, and you're not just going into it not knowing what you're going to shoot. A photographer with a shot list, it's the same thing. There's a true and there should be a documentation strategy of, hey, at least I know we're going to capture this XYZ. Um, Post event amplification, we already talked about that, especially as it comes to how do you continue to amplify those special moments? How do you make someone that was an attendee a super fan of yours? Like, oh my gosh, like maybe it's my first time experiencing this artist or coming out to one of these community events, but oh, I'm bought in. I'm a fan now. So this is where after your event, you can seed out all that beautiful content and the creative and the series and the recaps. And then you actually have your nurture sequence. So you have your attendees that move into more of those super fans. Your for events, you captured emails, right? So you have that data where you can target them again and send them exclusive offer or early access for the next event. I get them all the time. Early bird pricing, South by Southwest 2026. They hit me June for 2026 tickets, like right on it, right? But it could also be, like we mentioned, there are going to be so many people who aren't able to make it to your event in that time. So using all of that beautiful creative that you captured and that you documented and seeding it out, people who weren't able to make it, whether it's an artist and you had your first listening party that sold out, or you're a brand that put on their first of many events that you want to turn into something that's like quarterly or an annual thing. It's going to make the people that weren't able to be there be like, I have to be in that room next time. I don't know how I'm going to be in that room. Okay, but I got to be there. Someone asked if there's going to be a slide deck for this. You know what? There's not going to be a slide deck, but I will say that this replay will be available on YouTube and LinkedIn right after I end this live. So if you join late, no worries. Check back here in a little bit and you can watch the full replay. Some of these master classes I do decks and slides. Others I just yap straight from my heart. So if you're interested in some more master classes where we dive deeper, definitely let us know. I'm always open to the feedback on how to best present these for our insiders community. And we also have some freebie templates that are accompanying all of these webinars. We're behind on the one from last week for our brand webinar, so if you are not yet subscribed to the Insiders newsletter or our broadcast channel, that is where you're going to be able to find all of those special freebies. Okay, okay. It is an Insiders exclusive. So I put our QR code on the screen. Scan that. It'll bring you right to our Insiders newsletter. That is where we share all of our freebie templates, our resources. So we are going to have some resources for this one, giving y'all more ideas, a little bit of a framework for how to structure your own event. So that will be coming in, kind of replacing the slide deck. So QR code up on the screen, subscribe to the Insiders newsletter, shameless plug, okay, okay. And yeah, if you have any other questions about events, if you have an idea for your own event, any thoughts, any feedback, let us know. But yes, I can't believe I almost been on here for an hour and I could literally talk about events all day. So, the last thing that I wanted to end this live stream with is some real world case studies. And there's two examples that I want to pull up and screen share on the screen of more recent events that I've seen in the wild that could work. And I super successful, and I think they're creative AF. So I wanted to showcase those, but before I do that, final call for questions, okay? Because I'm gonna wrap this up right after I go through these two case study examples. So use them comment sections, drop them in the box. And yeah, so two examples. And the first one that I wanted to show, let's see if I can do this right, y'all. Me and technology, one would think, one would think. Okay, so the first example, we're gonna do, yeah, we'll just do this one first since it's up. So example one, let's move that. So this is an event for That Good Shit. A lot of folks who might be in the music community side of the things. That Good Shit is a music platform growing, doing big things, bigger things. Founded by Annabelle Klein. Freaking love her. Definitely one of many women in music that I saw when I was about to launch my agency, that creator side, doing really cool things. So, what they did, let me go ahead and just move this down so I can see this screen. They did their first live interview series that had a special guest. So, this is an example of what I would say is a creator event. Annabelle is a phenomenal DJ, music curator, has That Good Shit community, which is a music platform that spotlights artists, interviews. They do in person events, IRL, which is why we're using That Good Shit as an example. So they did a live interview with a special guest, artist Mobby. So the whole format for this event was the interview experience. Instead of just doing an interview that you record ahead of time and then you post it on social, the whole goal was to bring their community together in person and have this experience where they could bring in fans of That Good Shit, but also fans of the artist into one place. This is an example of a great event that also has a brand partnership collaborator. So Adidas was the brand partner powered by Adidas for this event. And you can see the Adidas logo, That Good Shit logo. Adidas is an example of a brand that they have a pulse on culture and they touch different communities. So from fashion, music, pop culture, and they see themselves strategically. There's a strategy for even their partnerships, of where that culture, music, fashion obviously intersect in so many different ways. So, this format for this event was an interview, plus there was a special partner, kind of collaboration space where the first 20 RSVPs got a free pair of kicks of superstars at the customization station. So, be able to customize your own kicks. Now, I freaking love that. I think that's phenomenal. That's awesome. Obviously, you're going to have people into this space. You don't want people just standing around. You want an element where we have our own framework at the agency where we focus on the senses, the five senses. What can they see? Maybe this one might not have had food, right? What can they taste? What can they touch in this experience? The first RSVPs, right? You can't give kicks away to all 100 people, right? Maybe, but they got to do something. So this is just one example. At this event, they had event coverage, right? So capturing the event, as we talked about, that content multiplier and amplifier. As you can see, powered by Adidas. She's rocking the superstars, aka product placement, but also is powered and sponsored by freaking Adidas. You would be rocking the kicks. Um, you can see the collaboration station. So whoever did event coverage, respective collective, they are phenomenal. Media company, they captured, right, all of the content for the event. These are just the photos, but they have the interview, they have video, other parts of the experience that are also being captured as well too. Let me go back. I'm not using multiple monitors today. So as you can see, got the artists on stage, also rocking the superstar kicks, capturing all that footage, audience kind of POV, snapshots, all of that. So this is an example of an event that, one, I wanted to be there. Okay. Annabelle, as I mentioned, is a phenomenal DJ. She also did a DJ set at the event, etc. So this is just one example of, and this was more recent, a few months ago, etc., earlier in 2025, where you can, right? This event had a little bit more of a budget attached. They have been doing partnerships, building their community, brand partners typically likely sponsor some monetary funds behind this, in addition to providing the shoes, the collaboration station, all of those details. So this is a little bit more of a budget here for sure. But I think what's really cool about this is that this is such a great example. If you are a DJ yourself, if you're a creator, these are just some ways you can build your own experience. Obviously, this partnered perfectly with what her community already does. Like, they're already interviewing artists. They are already dropping playlists. They are already doing events. Annabelle's already DJing. So now it was about putting all those elements together in a space. That's just one example. The second example I wanted to show you is from an artist, Hydra, and she created something special, which was called Hydra's House. I wanted to pull up this example because this goes back to how you can create something that's personalized, memorable, builds the connection piece, right? The conversation piece and the community piece, and still be able to do something on what I would consider a very micro budget in terms of experiential event activations. Now, I don't know because I haven't asked Hydra about it specifically, like, but because I'm sure she flew to LA, etc. So that would go in the budget travel for this. So micro, but travel was included. But what she did for this was a Hydra's house experience where literally, had an Airbnb or another property, and she had a unique experience for her fans where they could come out, okay? They could listen to her sing acoustic, stripped down live performances. She had the whole crib filled with core super fans. It's small, intimate, maybe what, 15, 20 people. Hydra's house, she also had, I think, refreshments. So hitting those different, got the drinks in hand, etc. But this is an example, right? Of it does not have to break your budget. You do not need to think, oh my gosh, not I don't I cannot do anything just yet. If you go back to being resourceful, if you go back to being creative, there is so much you can actually do. So here's another video of this is like the recap. So when we talk about events, right? We talked about the content amplification piece, capture the event or capture the footage, etc. So this is a recap of the event. You can see Hydra and Byrie, I believe, singing. You can see kind of what that experience looked like. She released this after, right? And guess what? This is making people get that FOMO of like, okay, I want to be at the next session of the stairwells. I want to be at the next Hydra's house, etc. So those are just examples of two of many that I could have shared today. But yeah, I could go on and on about events, y'all. I got ideas for years. I am always seeing events out in the wild. So that is all things that we do on the agency side. But yeah, I just had to show those two examples from Hydra, from Annabelle, and that good shit. And so, kind of just wrap things up and to close this out today, thinking about events, we covered some different things, right? We talked about different event ideas for artists, for creators, events that could be for like a brand or an indie label or even an artist management company. We talked about, hey, how do I design my own event? What are some of the questions I should be thinking about in my strategy? What are some of the most important, crucial things that we should have covered? And we showed some ideas in an hour. Okay. There's so much more I could share about events. But if you are an artist, if you're a creator, if you are a visionary brand that is planning your own tour activation in 2026, maybe you're doing, hey, Jazz, I know that I'm putting out an album next year. You could be a creator that wants to host your very first pop up, or maybe a label that's like, hey, we want to do an artist showcase. If you're interested in working with the agency, the team on helping to strategize and bring your own event to life, we have worked with both emerging and established artists, creators, and brands to truly create unforgettable moments that convert what I say the fans into super fans and attendees into the revenue. So hit us up on the web. I'll put the QR code right back up to go right to our website. There is a big old work with us button where you can submit your inquiry, add a few details about what you're thinking, your timeline, what budget you might be working with, and our team will receive it. And we can figure out how to create some magic based on where you are at in your journey, in your business, in your stage of growth. Our service tiers range, so hit us up for more details, but we go deep. We talked high level about the strategy today, but we go into strategy and creative conception, venue sourcing, helping with the production coordination, documentation, and the content capture piece, which we talked about a lot today, sponsor integration where applicable, where appropriate, and then obviously, how do you amplify post event after everything is done? So whether you're doing your first 50-person listening party, or maybe we're talking like, hey, I'm doing a multi-city tour activation, let's yap, let's chat. But it was so great to connect with you all today. I am going to be live again next week, okay, for our final webinar that we have outlined, at least for this part of our Insiders series, Insiders Masterclass series. Next week, Tuesday, October 24th at 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST, I'm going to be back live on the UNE side for creative ideas for your next music release. Artist teams. If you're an artist manager, an indie label, this one is going to be for you. got ideas for years, as I said, many of which are tried, true, tested with my own artists, our own clients, across numerous releases. So super, super excited to bring this one to life next week. And once again, thank you for everyone who joined live today. If you caught us halfway through, if you are tuning in a little bit late, catch the full replay available on the Uni YouTube and LinkedIn for your preferred viewing experience. Gonna have some freebies. Okay, okay. So keep an eye on social, our newsletter for more insiders magic, more magic brewing, more equals more. But if you have any additional questions from today's conversation, just send us a DM on social, leave a comment in the comment section on LinkedIn or YouTube. If it's a big question, we might turn it into a future conversation, a live stream, a carousel. You just never know with us. But once again, it was so great to connect with all of our insiders today. Okay. And we'll catch you in our next live stream very, very soon. Bye, y'all.